Oh, yeah.
We could rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we always do, remember members of the community, Kevin O'Brien, Grace Monahan, those affected by COVID, and our men and women in the armed forces. Thank you. Okay, so the first on the agenda is public comment on agenda items. And I just want to, on the back of the agenda is the guidelines. Speakers must be recognized by the presiding officer. Speakers must step to the front of the room. Speakers must give their name, address, and any organization, if any. All remarks must be addressed to the board as the body and not to individual board members. Public comment on agenda items. Yes.
Jim Ramus. Mr. Mayor, I see you have the community choice aggregate on here. I was wondering if you had an opportunity to look at the Better Business Bureau website and see if they had anything negative to say about are we still going with Jules?
That's on the agenda for tonight.
Right. So on the Better Business Bureau website, they didn't get a favorable rating. So I don't know if you guys looked at that. Thanks.
I would just note that I did reach out to NYSERDA, and that Jewel is one of two aggregators that have been approved for this area. I certainly didn't look at the Better Business Bureau. The other aggregator is Good Energy. So if for some reason the board is not satisfied with Jewel or wants to look at another one as well, they could I could reach out to them and schedule an appointment. But I think we did get I think the board did receive a presentation from Jewel, and I believe that is the aggregator that have they been selected by the town at this point?
Yes.
So I'm thinking, certainly up to the board, but to have two different aggregators working in an area, it's really...
I can explain if you'd like me to comment.
Sure, that's fine. If that's okay with the board.
For this, I'll...
So my name is Mindy Kimball. I live on West Point, New York. I am on the subcommittee that was selected to make a recommendation for the administrator for community choice aggregation. And so we did look at Good Energy and Jewel. The presentation that the village board had was not actually from Jewel. It was from people in neighboring communities who had gone with community choice aggregation, and it just so happens that they had gone with Jewel, but the presentation wasn't actually from Jewel, the company. But the main thing with the selection committee, our recommendation to both the town and the village for Jewel was the difference between the two companies of what type of energy that they would guarantee. And Good Energy did not have a guarantee that it would be 100% renewable, and Jewel did. And Jewel has more contracts with neighboring communities, and Good Energy didn't have as many in this area. So
Did we interview Jewel?
We did. The committee had questions that we sent to each of the companies, the same questions, and received written comment back from them. And then we had a few meetings going over, and we set a rubric for rating our priorities against their answers to those questions, and Jewel came out ahead by quite a bit on the ratings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you put your hand up here? Okay.
We can discuss it further when it comes up on the agenda. The board can.
Okay. Any other comments on agenda items? Next on the agenda is to approve the minutes that were taken on September the 7th, 2021. May I have approval? Motion?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? No opposition, motion carries. Community Choice Agreement, which is what we just talked about.
Yeah, so basically this, I did go over the agreement. It is in line with what NYSERDA has as a sample agreement on their website. I did reach out to NYSERDA, as I said. Jewel is one of the two that are approved for this section of New York State. As you'll note, in the agreement, this does not cost the village anything. This administrator would work with and get paid by whomever they decide would be choices for the village to aggregate and get renewable energy.
If we go with this, are we locked in to Jules?
Well, you're locked in for 18 months.
18 months.
Yes, for them to do their,
Can we opt out after 18 months if we wanted to and not the town? Or do you
well,
both have
yes, I mean, it's an independent agreement, so
to?
the village,
Directly with the village?
yes, it is directly with the village.
But it's an 18-month,
It is an, well,
Contract.
that's how long it takes them probably to do the work of, it's a fair amount
do
of work.
you know of any communities that have less than 18 months?
No, typically they'll stipulate when they propose the contract to you, it would be for, they told me typically 2 years or 3 years, whichever you prefer. But so, and maybe 18 months is an option as well. It's also important to note that this action is just to designate an administrator. It still does not commit any of the village residents to anything. The following step would be the company, Jewel, if that's what you go with. Jewel would come back to the village and say, here's the rate we have to offer. Here's what the research we did, here's what we have to offer you. And the village still could say, nope, we don't want it, bye-bye.
Okay. Jim, do you have any specifics on what they said?
I thought I had it on my phone, I don't, sir.
Okay. All right,
I
board,
would just note, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, that there is a termination clause, so you can terminate the contract with 30-day notice.
and where's that?
That's at 6.2 on page 5.
6.2?
So you can terminate it.
This agreement may be terminated for cause by either party upon the material breach of the other party. If such breaching party has failed to cure such material breach within 30 days of receiving written notice. Okay,
I mean, it would have to be a material breach.
Yeah.
So they would have to not do something that they've committed to do.
okay. Board's pleasure.
So the motion would be to authorize the mayor to sign this. That would be the motion, if you move forward tonight with this.
Put up a motion to approve the CCA administrative agreement by the mayor.
Second. Roll call. Question, comment.
Yeah, just, I know it's been kind of mentioned in the past I know it's been kind of mentioned in the past. I'm going to support it even though we got it just tonight. So we got the CCA administrative agreement tonight, right? We got it today, late?
Yes, I
Okay.
actually have had it.
It's okay, I'm not blaming anybody, but my point is we're getting it tonight, right? Okay? So I know it's come up before. Sometimes things like this do happen. But I will support it. So I just wanted to make that mention.
Good point. Roll call.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Allard?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have authorization for the mayor to sign a civil rights certification for the form for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Elise, have you looked at this?
I have not.
It's standard, we do it every year. It's just, if it passes for me to sign, it's just adhering to all the Civil Rights Acts of 1964, Fair Housing Act, Section 504, Rehabilitation Act 1973, Title II of the Americans of Disability Act 1990, and will affirmatively further fair housing by examining their programs and proposed programs, identifying and impediments to fair housing choice within those programs, addressing those impediments in a reasonable fashion in view of the resources available. The board has it before them. May I have authorization to sign?
I make a motion you are able to sign the civil rights certification for Housing Choice Voucher Program.
Comment?
This is for the HUD.
Correct.
Yep.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
May I have roll call?
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Allard?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. I'll sign it tomorrow and we'll get it back to them. Next on the agenda is a resolution for vehicle and traffic to delete a handicap spot on Drew Avenue. Street name Drew Avenue, side the northwest, location beginning 135 feet west of northwest corner of Main Street and Drew Avenue, continuing for a distance of 20 feet. This is the one some of you may know, Frank Wozniacki. This is his handicap spot. They moved, put his house up for sale. It sold within 1 week. That says a lot about Highland Falls right there. So this has to be done to take it out of the code book. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have roll call?
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Allard?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Resolution for special village election inspectors, whereas the next village election, should the village of Highland Falls be dissolved, will be held on Monday, November the 8th, 2021. And whereas voting for the upcoming special village election shall be conducted at the Senior Center, 15 Drew Avenue, from noon to 9 p.m. Therefore, be it resolved that the inspectors of the election shall be as follows: Suzanne Lewis, chairperson; Kathy Beach, Nancy Sporbert, Mary Jo Blackman. Be it further resolved that the rate of compensation paid to the inspector shall be $15 an hour. May I have a motion and then roll call?
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Guerrero?
Yes.
Trustee Allard?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yep, yes.
Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is for the appointment of a part-time police dispatcher, Morgan Smedley, at $15 an hour with maximum probation, per the recommendation of the officer in charge, Jason Torpy. You have his application.
I make a motion we approve the part-time dispatcher at the maximum probation, starting salary $15 per hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
No.
Roll call.
Trustee Guerrero?
No.
Trustee Allard?
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo?
Yes.
Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor D'Onofrio?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, we have bills and claims for fiscal year 21-22 of $139,275.64. So at the last meeting, it was said that we should, actually, a lot of things were said at the last meeting, but about the bills. And it was a little different what I found out that what the town does. The supervisor reads off maybe 5 or 6 of the higher amounts, and that's what I'll do. So we have the high amounts on this particular bills and claims that I just read. Village attorney, $5,227.05. Our engineer, John Fulchetti, $84,783.73. LaBerge, which is the company handling the disillusionment, $8,569.04. Orange and Rockland, $15,016.37. May I have a motion to approve bills?
I make a motion to approve the bills.
I'll second Mr. Howard's motion.
Roll call.
Trustee Guerrero.
Yes.
Trustee Howard.
Yes.
Trustee DeSalvo.
Yes.
Trustee Phillips.
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you so much. Board comment. Start to my left. Start to my right, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. I always appreciate the time that's given me because it's my only time to talk, to give the residents information. There's approximately 3,800 residents here in the village of Highland Falls. You just heard us approve the bills. There's a lot of bills. There's only 1,200 taxable properties in this 1.1 square mile. All of you give us over $7 million a year to spend. Last year, you gave us $7.4 million to spend. That's in revenues. Okay, 3.2 million of that is in taxes, and then another 1.1 million for your sewer rent. You pay us for sewer. Another 900,000 for water rent. Another 1.2 million from the New York State, because that's our share of the state taxes. And for $7 million, for $7.4 million, you should really expect a lot. You should expect a lot from us. Okay, that's a lot of money. You want us to manage it wisely, right? You want us to spend it right. You want us to cut costs where we can cut costs. You entrust us. We're trustees and the mayor. That's what the word means. You trust us to do all the right things for that amount of money. And what we really need to do is to develop a plan for the future. We have infrastructure that needs upgrades. It's a lot of money. You know, we're getting brown water every other month. That's because there's a lot of upgrades that the water main lines need, the sewer lines need. And yes, on the Ora and Craigston has to be done. We're gonna have to do it. We knew about this years and years ago. We knew about the on the Ora and the Craigston water main lines. He's shaking his head no, but he knew about it. And we're gonna have to borrow that $3.44 million. We have to, we should, we must do it, okay? And then there's more after that. So we really need to be looking at this money that you're giving us, and we should be saving where we can save and cut inefficiencies where there are inefficiencies, or redundancies where there are redundancies. We should also be having an economic development plan for businesses, right? So marketing, promoting, to encourage businesses to come here. That's a tax base too. And you know where that was? All of this planning was actually in the comprehensive plan from 2009. We paid for that study. It's a comprehensive plan. It was in 2009. It's on our website. You can look at this link. It's very, very comprehensive. It talks about what we should do as a village in order to progress, for progress. So, you know what else is in that comprehensive plan? They called for consolidation. That was in 2009. That comprehensive plan called for consolidation of facilities and services, so that we can be more efficient, we can be more effective in administering those services, and for cost savings for merging personnel, equipment, offices. They called for a consolidation in a 2009 comprehensive plan that you paid for, thousands. to come up with that plan. We didn't follow through. Now I get it, okay? You guys are saying, okay, consolidation is different from dissolution, two different words. You would be right? In normal conversation, those are two different words. But consolidation and dissolution are very much related in the language of the New York State local reorganization words, law, okay? New York State has been wanting small municipalities, villages, towns to consolidate, to merge, to become one government. And in that process, you can achieve that to two different processes. You can either consolidate or you can dissolve. Whether you consolidate or dissolve, the end point is the same. You get to one government. When you consolidate, you have to terminate both the village and the town, and then agree, both of them would have to agree to become one government. When you dissolve, the village dissolves, and the town absorbs the village, and you become one government. Same endpoint. You become one government. I'm sorry? Yeah, I'm saying you shouldn't.
Mr. Mayor.
So both consolidating and dissolving reaches the same point, one government, okay? So, when we talk about one government, this board actually, if we were to dissolve, this board right here, this 5-person board, is the board that's going to come up with a final dissolution plan. We come up with that plan, okay? 180, no, not just me, all of us, Chip. We come up with this plan. We have 6 months to come up with a plan. We present that plan to the board. And yes, you're right. No, somebody from the board is going to say, okay, well, you present it to the town, but they don't have to accept it. That's true. But you know who's on the town board? People that you guys vote for. I vote for. And we have actually a very different scenario here. There are actually more residents in Highland Falls than there are in the town outside of the village. Your vote counts. So you can elect people that you want on the board to follow through with what you want the new government to look like. So you and I vote for those people. And those people come from the village, come from Fort Montgomery, they come from the entire town. That's us. We vote for them. So I think we should work with them. We should vote. The election is November 2nd, okay? And then election for us is November 8th. And that's what the consolidation movement is about, and dissolution movement is about. It's to become one government so we can be more efficient. That's a lot of money you're giving us, and we have to spend it wisely. That's all I have.
I want to thank Detective Cleveland. Now, a couple of days ago, I saw 2 young people walking up and down the street. And I said, it's not the Jewish holiday, that's tomorrow. So I said, how come you're not in school? So the kid said, I overslept. And the other kid said, no, we didn't. So I said, well, you have to go to school. So we went down, and Detective Cleveland looked at all the cameras, and we finally called it. And the assistant principal and the attendance officer at the middle school did a nice job. I felt I'm a retired administrator in schools, but it was so funny to come down and say, how come you're not in school? And the answer they gave just didn't click. But it did bring back some nice memories. Is the officer in charge here?
Yes, sir.
We're still going with the CPR, right, and Narcan training?
That's correct. All the police officers are currently Narcan certified, and a good percentage of the officers are CPR certified, and some of our dispatchers are CPR certified.
And DPW, we're going to move it over there, right?
We're gonna talk with them about having training together in the near future.
Good. We milled, not we, they milled the road here Friday, going down from Mountain Avenue all the way up to the Hacienda. It was smooth, and I guess today they started paving, is that true?
Yeah.
Started paving.
They'll finish tomorrow.
So it'll be done, and that way it won't be as bumpy as ever. One of the problems is, when we have a street from DOT, we don't have any control over that. And what I mean by that is, when I was on the phone with them and I said, could you fix here, here, and here? They said, yes, on our schedule, not yours. So then I asked, can I speak to your supervisor? And they said, no. I said, all right, well, thank you. It was good speaking with you. So we're in that bind about, they have a schedule, and that's exactly what they're going to keep to, is the schedule. Called Scoofus, called a couple other people, they got the same answer. If it's a state road, they'll do it on their time schedule. Since that was a big question last week about why does it take so long to do this? That's why. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Jared?
Evening, everybody. Just to update on our water situation up at Bog Meadow. We were 100% at capacity, which is very good. We had a lot of rain. They had quite a bit of, luckily we had quite a bit of rain. So, I mean, that helped out a lot. So a lot of people were actually being a little bit conscientious this year with their pools and their water. And, you know, I've seen a lot of rain barrels out, thank you, Ms. Anderson. You know, a lot of people did buy from them. They say they got them from you and stuff. It worked out well. People were watering their grass early in the morning and their flowers that were late at night. It helped out quite a bit. It helped us very much. We had a leak on Main Street on Catherine Street, on the 9th. There was an 8-inch piece of, an 8-inch cast iron pipe that busted. Village crew did a fantastic job. They were out there all day. 8-foot section. It was cast iron, and you know the pipes are old. They're starting to break. And, you know, only way you can do that is tear up every road, everything, and it's not going to happen until they do break, and you can't do anything about that. The water department will be flushing the fire hydrants during the day, the week of October 4th, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. The town will be flushing after the village is done. So Jack said we will get a hold of Pat Patterson and let them know, when we're done, hopefully they do theirs right away, so brown water will only be limited to that amount of time. So normally they do it at nighttime, but it's going to be done during the course of the day. So just to let everybody know, your renters, people own houses, people, just businesses will know. It'll be put in the News of the Highlands 2 times, correct, Mayor? Mr. Mayor? And then I will bring it up in the next board meeting again. And then it'll be on the local news channel, Channel 23.
And the police department will do the EO.
And the police department will do their alert also. So, but thank you, everybody. Appreciate you, doing the right thing by cutting down water and everything. And we're working on the issues. We're working on the issues with the water and stuff. So, any questions or comments from you?
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Jim?
Yeah, last meeting I'd mentioned the Town of Highlands Building Department. I'd gotten their August report. I think we all got a copy via email. Just so the public knows, 23 permits and applications were received, 25 permits issued, 9 certificates of compliance, 40 building permit inspections. I don't have a report on fire safety inspections because it's being done by an engineering firm right now, Lankin Tully. A couple other big ones: 9 complaints open, 6 complaints completed, 4 municipal searches, 4 FOIL requests, 47 total number of physical inspections, $6,910 in total fees collected. So that's just a little highlight for the board. Again, I know we all got a hard copy. Just a quick comment on just some information. The law for dissolution and consolidation, it does read like stereo instructions. It's a little dry. Of course, if you're an attorney, they probably love it. But there is a difference between, and I do agree with Trustee Guerrera that there is a difference towards the end of dissolution versus consolidation. And I haven't looked at the master plan in a long time, and I'm interested that it did say consolidation, which I don't think anybody would necessarily be 100% opposed to, but a consolidation is very different, because I can get to Florida by driving and flying. Now, I'm still getting to Florida, but they're two different ways. So consolidation is a form of a new government. It does give the folks in Fort Montgomery a seat at the table. It does give the village a seat at the table to create that government. So while I understand that we still get to Florida, it is two different ways towards the end. I'm not talking about the process. The process is very similar with the petitions and all this other stuff. So just a little point of fact. On another note, just to reiterate, in Orange County, I don't know about every other county, I just know a little bit about Orange. 21 towns, 3 cities, 20 villages. Dissolutions only come up in the village of Highland Falls in the last 20 years that I've been involved in the community. In fact, right now, in the town of Crawford, they have 1,250 signatures on a petition to create a village, to incorporate coterminous the town of Crawford into an incorporated village. That's a little different out there because the town always advanced. They have a water treatment system. They're actually doing a major upgrade out there. They have sewer, a lot of septic stuff out there, so it's not that big of an area to cover. But they are actually in the process of creating a village. It'll be a little different because, like I said, the town has all the amenities. But they're doing it for different reasons. So it's just interesting to see that. So, again, as we move through the process and the LaBerge group does the study, I'm sure we'll have more and more information. Myself, I'm trying not to get on a podium and give a speech every meeting, but I understand it's an important topic for a lot of people, so I just like to bring up some topics when I hear them to try to see if we can make sure we have all the information. So that's all I have right now.
Thanks, Jim. All right. I have a few things, so you're going to have to bear with it. Number one, there's information out there about West Point contracting with our school district to have their children educated in our high school. It sounds like people are looking around for other schools to send their kids. But if you have any concerns or questions, contact the superintendent of schools. If you call 446-9575, that'll prompt you into an extension to him or his secretary. So it's a very large issue, big issue. Again, if you have any questions, call the superintendent of schools. Update on the COVID. Town of Highlands has 18 active cases. These numbers that I'm going to give you right now go from last Tuesday to last Thursday, but they really haven't changed much. So between last Tuesday and last Thursday, there was 158 new cases in Orange County. Same period, 4 deaths, someone in their 50s, someone in their 60s, and 2 people in their 70s. There's 62 hospitalized, 9 of those 62 are on ventilators. In Orange County, there are 1,212 active cases. I'm going to read some questions, and I would encourage anyone with questions on dissolving the village, doing away with the village, to go on the village website. Right on the home page, the first page, you'll see LaBerge, which is the company the village has hired to do a study, and you can ask questions, and I would encourage you to do that. I'm going to read a few with their answers. Question: If the village is dissolved, what happens to the village police? Will they be hired by the town as full-time police officers like they are now in the village? Answer. Please note that the plan has not been finalized yet. If the village is dissolved, the village police department would cease to exist. The village police department would cease to exist. Based on public discussions and comments on the provisions of the police, it appears that the town would be providing part-time coverage 24/7. There will not be any full-time officers employed. And as such, all current village police officers would not have an opportunity for full-time work in the Town of Highlands Police Department. They would, however, be eligible to be part-time officers and would be placed on the preferred list for upcoming opportunities in other Orange County police agencies. They would not be guaranteed the same position or salary if one is not available. Question. If the village voters dissolve the village on November the 8th, will the village employees, including the police, be guaranteed a job with the town? If not, is there a way to prevent them from all just quitting or immediately looking for a job while the final disillusionment plan is being developed? Answer. No one is guaranteed a job. Often we see that due to uncertainties, employees are looking for another job and services are impacted. As such, we recommended adoption of an intermunicipal agreement with the town or neighboring community to provide the services in the interim for a fee for service prior to disillusionment. For example, in the case of the village of South Nyack, it was recommended that the village and town agree to an earlier transfer to allow the police and the DPW coverage and the village to sell equipment and property to offset debt. Question. The village owns the senior center, owned by the village and bought with the county grant, with stipulations. If the village is dissolved, what happens to it? Answer. Generally speaking, there are two options. If the village still owns the property at the time of disillusionment, then its ownership switches to the town. Paperwork, new deeds, new loan papers, etc. The village may be able to sell the property, although the grant stipulation may preclude that or require a repayment. Should the village vote to dissolve, this will require more research as the stipulations surrounding property disposition. Question. If the village dissolves, what happens to the property the village owns? Answer. Should the village residents choose to dissolve as part of the required final disillusionment plan, the village will create a plan for the disposition of its assets, including vehicles, equipment, buildings, and properties. The village can sell any or all of its assets prior to disillusionment. We are still, question. If the village dissolves, what are the options that the village has with the Highland Falls Fire Department? And options, if any, the department has. Village owns the trucks and the equipment. Answer. We are still researching the Highland Falls Fire Department and the options. I don't want to put this up yet for an answer, which I'm still researching. Question. And we heard this a few minutes ago. Will there be a plan to go forward if the voters approve the disillusionment of the village on November 8th? Is there a plan? If there is a plan, does the town have to follow it? This is where the law, in my opinion, is flawed. The village has to spend tremendous amount of money after November 8th if the village is dissolved. The law is we have to come up with a plan. Here's the answer. Yes, should the voters approve disillusionment on November 8th, the village will be required to develop and adopt a final plan of dissolution per Article 17-A of the New York State General Municipal Law. The plan must be approved within 180 days provided to the public, and the village must hold a public hearing. Then they have to adopt the plan, and the plan is subject to permissive referendum. If there is no petition submitted within 45 days, the plan is set into motion. If there is, then there will be a second vote on dissolution. Here's the last part of it. No. After we spend the money, after we approve the plan to protect the people in the village of Highland Falls, by the way, the answer is no. The town is not required to participate, adopt, or follow the village's plan. Someone please tell me how that makes sense. All right.
Oh, just a little.
No, I didn't interrupt. That's right. No, I'm not done yet. It is being proposed that the village dissolve and the town of Highlands take over the village police services. The town police department is the only completely part-time, I want you to hear this now. The town police department is the only completely part-time police department in Orange County, and would be taking on a far busier police department in addition to the area it is already responsible for. As it is currently constructed, it would be grossly under-equipped. The village police department is primarily made up of full-time officers and supplemented days off and busy times such as 4th of July, protests, and part-time officers. The town police only have part-time officers, most of whom never worked full-time, and they are only allowed to work a maximum of 20 hours per week. For most of them, that I would assume their priority is their full-time job, unless they're retired. 1, village. The village police is staffed 24/7 days a week by a dispatcher and a minimum of 2 officers. There is always someone on duty to greet a person coming into the station, to deal with public face-to-face during the emergency or render non-emergency information and assistance. They have the ability to immediately dispatch whatever services are needed. The town, most of the time there is no one inside the building, and a call has to be made by the person reporting to 911, which can take time to respond. 2, village has its own dedicated dispatch unit, 4 of which are residents with extensive knowledge of the village and town, its landmarks, its specific problems, and its residents. Town, a dispatcher in Goshen will answer the call if it is not first received by Putnam County 911. Calls received by Goshen 911 may be put on the back burner if it is a low priority call, and the person taking the call will likely know little or nothing about Highland Falls. 3, village puts out a maximum of 2 patrol units and a dispatcher per shift. Most of the shifts are supervised by a sergeant. A detective is always on duty or on call. Town, they put out 1 patrol per unit, with the exception of 7 p.m. to 3 a.m., where they have 2 officers on duty. There are no supervisors with the exception of the chief and deputy chief, who are allowed to work 20 hours apiece each week. They're part-time. 4, village has a detectives division. There is always a detective on call for investigations or situations involving advanced investigative skills. Town has no detectives. The majority of their patrol officers have never been full-time police officers. They do not investigate felonies, and all investigations, I've known this for a while, are turned over to the state police. 5, village. When fully staffed, the village police department has a full-time chief and 7 full-time officers. The village is a full-time officer's career focus and priority, with extensive personal knowledge of the village, its landmarks, specific problems, and its residents. 7 of the village police department members either grew up or currently live here in the village. Town, all part-timers, none of whom live in the town or village. Turnover is extremely high. 6, village has, I want you to listen to this one. I'm sure there's a reason. The village has a budget of $1.2 million a year. The building is staffed 24 hours a day by a dispatcher, and there is always a minimum of 2 officers on duty. It has its own detectives division. and investigative property crimes, narcotics, and serious felonies. Town, we're 1.2. Town has a budget of $785,000. Roughly 75% of the village's police budget. No one says anything about that. It has no dispatch, no detectives, and one car on the road unsupervised. I have a tremendous amount here to read about dispatching, but I'm going to save this for the next meeting. I'm sure everyone will like that decision, but I'll save this for the next meeting. Some it's 4 pages, extremely good information on what our dispatchers do. Just to clean up a couple of comments that have been made over the last couple of meetings. At the last meeting, one of the trustees up here said that the village engineer, Todd Atkinson, said that our water system was crumbling. I called him the next day at 9 a.m. He never said that. Never used the word crumbling, never said anything like that. Never said it. It was said up here by a village trustee that the only ones going to lose their jobs are the village board. That is so not true. I don't know that there's anyone up here, I can talk for myself for sure, that I need what the mayor's salary pays. I don't. It's not us. It's not us. It's going to be at least half of the village employees. At least, we already know the police department is gone. So there's a whole lot more people in this village, most of who live here, are going to lose their jobs. It was said up here by a trustee that only one police department personnel lives here. Not true. This is really kind of stupid stuff, but it needs to be corrected. It's okay to be 2 weeks behind. I accept being 2 weeks behind. Currently, 9 of our department members are Highland Falls residents. Not 1, 9. 3 police officers, 4 dispatchers, 2 traffic control officers. 7 members of this department grew up here in the village, and more than 1/2 of the department has many years of connections to the community. So we really have a hometown police department that functions very, very well. Soon, the residents here will know what the report, which has not been finalized yet, will say. You don't know yet. All this stuff on Facebook, I love the folks that put stuff on Facebook with knowledge. It's really lack of knowledge. Do our residents know what the town's protection will be as far as the police department? When I wrote this, I put no. But now we do know. We do know now. Because the town, at town board meetings, has said it. The town supervisor along with Mr. Modlin, have talked to the LaBerge Group and have told the LaBerge Group it'll be a part-time department. So we do kind of know what the protection will be.
That's a lie.
Has anyone told,
That's a lie.
excuse me, look at the back of the agenda. Has anyone told the town, has anyone told the town residents outside the village what their solvency is, what their debt is, what their taxes are going to go up? You know, that, we only know a couple of things for sure. We know about the police department, and we know taxes are going to go up in the town, outside the village, i.e. Fort Montgomery. We know that. And by the way, folks like to bring up our debt, which is, we should talk about our debt. We also should talk about what the debt is for. But where I want to go, with just a statement is, the town debt. It's not a criticism of the town. Almost every community in the Northeast. Remember, the Northeast is the oldest part of this country. Everything else came afterwards. So of course our systems and our infrastructure need repair. The whole Northeast is experiencing it. Every little town, every little village, every city is experiencing it. I have the AUD dated December 31, 2020 from the town. If you add the debt that they've taken on with the sewer plant this year, they have more debt than we do. How do you like that? We get told, we get hammered up here every meeting. But and that's not a criticism. It's just the way it is. When you build a sewer plant, you have to maintain it. You build a water plant, you have to maintain it. Infrastructure, you have to maintain it. I have so much more. Let's talk about dispatching again. I don't know what the reasons are. I know our reasons. I only know here, Highland Falls. I don't know anywhere else in Orange County why they go to 911 or why they don't go to 911. I assume they have good reasons to go either way, so that's what they do. Village of Monroe, 3 full-time dispatchers and part-timers, 24/7, 365 days a year. Village of Walden, 3 full-time dispatchers and part-timers, 24/7, 365 days a year. Now, why doesn't Monroe go to 911? Why doesn't Walden? I don't know, I didn't call up. Town of Warwick has 6 full-time dispatchers and part-timers, 24/7, 365 days a year. 2 dispatchers on at a time. Not 1, 2. They're big. Warwick is big. Town of Woodbury, just over the mountain. 3 full-time dispatchers, 24/7, 365 days a year. City of Newburgh, 3 dispatchers and a sergeant assigned to dispatch at all times. Town of Newburgh, 9 full-time dispatchers, part-timers, 2 dispatchers at a time, 24/7, 365. Why aren't they at 911? Town of New Windsor, 9 full-time dispatchers and part-timers, 2 dispatchers on at all time, 24/7, 365 days a year. Town of Wallkill, same thing. Village of Goshen has 2 full-time dispatchers, 911 handles overnight. Blooming Grove, full-time dispatchers. Village of Washingtonville, not far from here, 2 full-time dispatchers and a part-time dispatcher, 911 handles overnight. Cornwall, just over the mountain that way. I always hear try comparisons with Cornwall. I wish we had Cornwall's assessed value. I wish we had their new housing developments. I wish we had their industry. I wish we had their business. We'd be in good shape. Cornwall, the town does the dispatching for the village.
Apples and oranges.
You know, I know you love to interrupt. Please try hard. You're doing good tonight, so far.
Apples and oranges.
It's not apples and oranges. The good news, the DRI, $10 million for Main Street has been submitted. So that's good news. Roads to be paved, probably a month from now. Cooks Lane, Fostoria Street, Dale Avenue, Havens Road, Eagle Valley Road, Church Street, Hickory, Maple, Webb, Catherine, Liberty, Muller, Upper Burns, Sweezy, Bernard, School Street, very small section of Hillside, parking lot number 2 across the street from Sacred Heart. I need your help getting trucks from different communities, just like the last time. Saved a tremendous amount of money. We're going to dump our millings very local, saving tremendous amount of money. Same deal as we always do. Okay? Talk to John, please. Okay. I will take questions from the audience. Yeah, comments, yeah. Let the chief go and then you're next.
Eric Smith, 23 Main Street.
One second. Sean, is that on? Okay.
I'm representing the fire department. Good evening. I've been elected by the membership to be the spokesman and point of contact for the department regarding potential dissolution. I've spoken with the LaVerge Group as part of the study. I'd like to point out the implications of dissolution on fire protection and the concerns of our membership. The Highland Falls Fire Department is 99 years old, but the volunteer fire service in the village dates back to the mid-1800s. 99 years ago, all the companies consolidated into one. It's a village department just like police, sewer, water, and dissolution would abolish the fire department. All equipment and apparatus are owned by the village, and it could be liquidated to pay down village debt. There's no clear option on how fire protection to the former village would be attained. If we no longer had a firehouse in the village, our ISO insurance rating would definitely suffer and result in increased insurance premiums. There's travel distance guidelines. We went through a reevaluation recently, so there's no doubt that we would need, for all practical matters, to keep a firehouse in the former village. Contrary to villages, New York State towns can't provide fire protection themselves. So while the town would be forced to take the lead in securing fire protection, it couldn't be a town department. The town could establish a fire protection district and contract for coverage. The town could form a new fire district with elected fire commissioners to oversee the district, or the district could be annexed or into another district. There's been a lot of conversation in the past few months regarding debt and taxes. I'll offer the following about the current arrangement. Fire protection as a village department financially benefits from inclusion with village government. The fire department benefits from village fuel, village mechanic, pooled insurance, and the village's office staff. The fire service is a regulated industry, and there's a tremendous amount of work necessary to stay compliant. As someone who served as chief 7 of the last 11 years, the workload has increased and the assistance is necessary. I would certainly speak for hours on the subject and experience, as I've served in 5 departments in the last 30 years in all these possible formats: village, fire protection district, fire district, and city department, but I understand the time constraints. But I'd like to close with the most important factor, and that's the members. Volunteer departments across the country are struggling for members. Highland Falls is no different. There's great concern about the future for our members as we prepare for our 100th anniversary next year. Any assumption that we'd be able to maintain all our members in the event of dissolution and reforming is misguided. We know the current length of service awards program would end, and we'd be forced to start over, depending on the structure of a new department, to take on many roles currently handled for us by the village. I want to thank the board for their time, and I'm available going forward to answer your questions on the subject. Thanks.
Thank you, Chief.
Can I answer? Mr. Smith? Yeah, Eric. So that was actually a question that was posed in LaBerge. And it's a very good question, and we've all talked about it already. And like you said, nobody knows yet if you are going to get fired, or nobody even wants to do that. We're thinking of doing, like you said, have fire districts, fire protection districts, fire districts. The intent is not for you to dissolve. The fire department costs the village very little money, less than $150,000 a year, very little. That you've never been in the piece that is costing the village money at all, and your services are fantastic.
If
Yeah.
we had to do it on our own, right? I mean, it's just the case.
The town fire department is double ours.
So it's,
For operating.
that is providing fire protection, it's going to be fire districts. I think if you're thinking that you're gonna go away, that is not true. Okay, the dissolution of the village, I know, has a lot of implications, and there's a lot of people spreading fear and scaring. You know, there are 23 full-time village employees, or 6 full-time police officers, and I know that we are talking about how we are going to manage that and put together a dissolution plan that works for everyone. The intent is not to just make everybody go away. It's to make it work. It's to make it work most efficiently, most effectively, to save money. And, you know, it's not being vindictive. And I think this board needs to be working with the town board now, so that we can talk about how we should. They're very willing at every board meeting. They're willing to talk, they're willing to look at numbers, and they're willing to plan right. And like I said, the villagers here, the residents, are the ones voting for the same people, the town board. So vote for somebody who's going to represent you and do it fairly and equitably.
Eric?
We're just presenting facts.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate the facts, and it is a concern. And I will tell you that as the mayor of this wonderful village, I have grave concerns about the health and safety of this community when we talk about police and fire and water and sewer, okay? And there's others, but those are the top of my list. You heard a statement just now about what's going to happen, and the question was asked to the LaBerge Group, and they said they're still researching. So wait till they come out with their answer before anyone believes anything that they think and take it as gospel, because it's not gospel. I appreciate your concerns. I knew you would have those concerns. And I noticed some guys around the corner here and ladies around the corner. I saw Lynn, the president of the department. You guys do a fantastic job. You know that. I praise you up here all the time. There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Just before Ms. Monroe, I think what Chief Smith was saying was that there's, that was the point I was trying to make before. Dissolution and consolidation are two very different things. Okay? The town does not have to accept any dissolution plan that the village comes up with. Now, I don't think that they're going to let us float off into the abyss. That's not what I'm saying. But, well, Ms. Guerrera, if it's in the town's hands right now. We already know in one small window of an example that the police department's going to change. Now, we haven't been presented that formally, but it's been said at a meeting. I don't know if that makes it formal, but, so that's.
Said to the LaBerge Group.
But it was also said at a meeting, that it was going to be, it's going to go from a full-time department to a 24/7 part-time department. So there's going to be a change. So any other avenue, DPW, fire protection, whatever else, there could be a potential change. If the town doesn't feel that there's going to be any change, then present a plan. But I'm going to tell you, there's dollars and cents that come with it. So consolidation and dissolution are two different things. At the end of the day, you're right, there may be one government, but there are two different ways on getting there.
Thank you.
All right, Frank Lillis. A couple things I want to talk about. First thing, I wanted to publicly thank, excuse me, a couple departments that have been making donation on our behalf, knowing what we're going through with the attempt to dissolve the village. A couple of departments that have sent money from the PBAs was Town of New Windsor, Woodbury, other departments, but I really want to thank the Town of Highlands Police Department for their donation, and they know what we're going through. They made a
Wait. The town of Highlands, right down the street, gave you a,
donation because they know what this is going
to help
through.
fight disillusionment.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
So I want to just thank those departments for helping us through that. Second thing, I just want to talk about the house sales. And I'm glad you mentioned it today. Ms. Guerrero, you had mentioned about how high the taxes were. One of the things that people do when they buy a house, they have to know what the taxes are prior to buying it. I have never seen houses sell so quick in this village. People love this village. And the houses go up and they're sold in no time. And before they buy the house, they have to know what the taxes are. So apparently they didn't care too much. They still wanted to come in this house, into the village. You know, this houses with multiple bids on them, so they're selling very quickly.
Many people are getting more money than what they were asking.
Yes, sir, that's correct. And I had owned many houses in the village here, I shouldn't say many, a few houses. And I was always happy with the services that were provided. Full-time police department, full-time dispatchers, snow removal, garbage pickup, streets clean. So I was very happy, and I knew what the taxes were. Let's face it, nobody wants to pay taxes, and the lower we can put our taxes, the better we are. But I don't think we're any different than Cornwall, Washingtonville, Warwick. All these places around here have high taxes. That's part of living in the Northeast. It stinks, but that's what it is. Second thing I wanted to mention, I see a couple more of these flyers, anonymous flyers that have gone out, still with no names on it. Another one just recently, I know Joe DeWitt is there. He raised his hand one time, said that he was part of it, but I still don't see any names on it. So if somebody wanted to ask questions about some of the information that was put on there, I don't know who you would ask, because it's anonymous. So I would ask that the residents take them with a grain of salt until you know who they're coming from, so you can ask questions about it. Last meeting, or a couple meetings ago, maybe it was last meeting, I was attacked by Lori Tatel, said that I was fear-mongering about 911. That certainly was not my intention to fear-monger. There is 911, you could call 911, it will work. My point was just to tell you how efficient our dispatchers are, how much they know, and how much better service that you would get by our local dispatchers. You could walk in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and someone will be there, and we will know exactly where to send them. So I apologize if you thought that I was fear-mongering. That is not my intention at all. Last thing I wanted to mention, Ms. Guerrero, you said at one meeting that the town has a lot of retired police officers down there in the town part-time police department. In fact, they have none. And you had mentioned they had some New York City police officers that retired. They have no retired police officers. They're all part-time officers. There's none that are retired from other police departments. So I just wanted to mention that. I know you had mentioned the budget with the town department. I know that the village could very easily supply police protection to the village and cut the budget, to the town, I'm sorry, to the town. We could very easily supply police protection down there with a lot of supervision at a fraction of that cost. I haven't done the numbers, so I haven't sat down and actually written it out, but I know we can do it, and that is a way. I'm not opposed to consolidation. We probably could consolidate service, but I am opposed to dissolving the village in all the departments. That's all I have to say.
Hi, I'm going to keep my mask on. Lori Tortel, Orange County Legislature. If I felt I attacked you, I totally apologize. To me, it was more of a chastisement because I was upset the way that it was reported for the county 911 system. Secondly, there is a difference in the methodology. However, for as long as I can remember, there was always talk of consolidation, talk of consolidating this. A few things did get consolidated along the way, but it was never fully brought to the table. Nobody ever wanted to agree to come to the table and talk. There were never two boards in the town and in the village that could seem to get it together. So that's just a point of clarification. I'm not going to go anywhere near that any further. The other part is that, totally off of dissolution, I believe this board a while back, a few weeks ago, a few meetings ago, reinstated wearing masks indoors in village buildings. Am I correct on that? The clerk said I was. So just a reminder to everybody, the Delta variant is pretty serious. You mentioned the cases that we've had. Wear your masks, wear them properly. This is the proper way. When your nose slips out, it's not protecting you or me all the way. So, you know, there is a huge thing going on right now with the president put out about mandating companies that employ over 100 people to have their employees vaccinated. Well, I know for certain right now that on West Point as of September 13th, contractors and subcontractors, they either have to sign an attestation form that they were vaccinated, or they have to submit every 3 days to a COVID test and show that they're negative COVID to stay employed on West Point. There's a lot going on in the county end on that. I am not at the point where I feel that I need to tell you what to do with your body or mandate you what to do with your body. I'm 99% there, but I have that 1% reservation. But what I'm going to tell you is, I've had the vaccine. Yes, I had a reaction to it, but my reaction to what I had to the vaccine was a hell of a lot less than what I saw my friend and my friend's wife go through. She's gone because she didn't want to get vaccinated. He's suffering because he didn't get vaccinated. His whole family, who didn't want to get vaccinated, end up with COVID. We all know it's real. So we also have people who, for health reasons, can't get vaccinated. There's a variety of reasons. So let's do our part. I'm going to ask you once again, I said this once before, Mary Jane, you remember that park? Let's all do our part and get fully vaccinated for those who can't get vaccinated, for the little kids who aren't eligible for it, or for the people for health reasons who can't get it. So I'm just asking that once again. Thank you.
We have to keep saying those things.
Answer one of the things, I know you mentioned a lot of things. So, if I misspoke about the town police department being all retired police officers, what I meant was that there were previous police department supervisors from New York City or Orange County, previous detectives and investigators from New York City, Attorney General's office, local police, and he even gave me numbers, like 5 of them are previous supervisors, police department supervisors, 5 previous detectives, investigators. They're all trained from New York State, New York City, federal government, FBI. So if I misspoke and said that they're all retired police officers, then I apologize. But I am glad that this is all recorded, because a lot of things that the mayor said earlier are actually a twisting of my words. You know, for example, the police department in town, yes, it's about $750,000 is what it costs. The police here costs over $2 million. That's if you count dispatch, okay? If you count the police department itself, and then all of the benefits on top of that. It's 35% of our general budget, over $2 million. But you have to count, the way we have it broken down in here, in our budget, is that just police department, and then communications is a different line, and then your benefits is a different line. But if you're only looking at the police department, then he would be right. It's 1.1 million. But he didn't add all those other things, which makes it over 2 million. It's about 35% of our budget, okay? And what I said about who's going to lose their job, I said, guaranteed that the 5 of us would. I didn't say that it's just going to be the 5 of us. It's going to be guaranteed that the 5 of us would. Okay? Are we going to lose other jobs? You know, go back to the other villages that have dissolved. All the jobs that were lost is by attrition. Nobody got fired. In all the other villages that dissolved and got absorbed by the town, it's by attrition. Okay? So it needs to be worked out. It has to be looked at and worked together. And trying to speculate right now of what's going to happen is really just trying to scare people so that they would get the vote. Also, the salary of the mayor. Oh, it's like, you know, the salary is so small. The power that you have vested in us, the 5 of us, is not in the money you're giving us as salaries. In fact, I declined my salary. It's not that much, okay? The power is in the position. You have given us a lot of power. You've given us a lot of power to spend your money, okay? Over $7 million a year. That's where the power lies, in this position. So, you know, being afraid to lose that power is a big deal for some of us. Also, police officer. Oh, by the way, yeah, I did say that there's only 1 police officer that lives in the village. I was just counting the police officer. And if I miscounted, maybe there's 2 or 3. I think I was corrected by Sergeant Torpy. There's 3 police officers who live in the village. Then I'm mistaken. But as far as I know, there was only 1, at most 2. Okay.
There's 9. There's 9 police department personnel.
Police officer. See, you can't twist my words.
Okay, all right, no, I'm not
That's my
twisting your words. There's still, what are we going to do with the other people? The heck with them?
The other people.
Sure, just one.
That's okay. I'm not-
And I have to be corrected too.
Okay.
There is a town, the the chief and the deputy chief are retired police officers.
Gotcha. Oh.
Jim, you're quick, and then we'll go to Harvey.
Give it up patrol.
Okay, Harvey?
Harvey Green, I live on Fostoria Street. Again, a flyer that came out. What he says is somewhat true. It's what he doesn't say that disturbs me. He says Orange County 911 that talks about the dispatching, but he sort of leaves things out, like the assistant director who came said, our dispatchers do a very good job. He said, if you use a cell phone, it's going to Dutchess County, and it's going to take time till they figure it out and get it back to where it should go, to Orange. These are things that disturb me. If you're going to send something out, please, send it all the information, not just, I'll take a word here, a piece there, so it helps me. Make it right, send all the information. Thank you.
I'll let the lady go first.
Thank you. Olga Anderson, resident of Highland Falls. I'm going to try to stick to the 1-minute guideline in the... No, it's okay. I think it's important because otherwise we'll be here till midnight. I just want to remind everybody and invite everybody to a meeting that is happening over Zoom tomorrow night. It's at 6 p.m. You can go to onehighlands.com to register for that meeting, and it's going to be about the pros and the cons of dissolution. So it's by an expert in this. He studied this process throughout New York State, and I dare say it'll be a much more objective look at the process. So I invite everybody to tune in.
Oh, go ahead.
God bless you. Michael Joyce, 12 Eagle Valley. I hate this. They're on camera. These flyers that were put out, oh, sorry, I don't want to look at you because the last thing. These flyers that were put out is just to stimulate the conversation and to get people to research. You can't put everything on a small piece of paper. Oh, I looked at the camera, sorry.
That's it. So that's
and-
stimulating.
To get people to research, not to have all this fear mongering or people pointing fingers at the town or the village, to get people to actually get involved because it's their tax money. And when it comes to taxes, everybody doesn't like paying taxes. I don't like paying taxes, but I'll pay my fair share. My fair share. Not because we're throwing money out the window and then the taxes have to go up. So please, come up with a plan, talk, put it to the town. I don't think the town is going to say what their plan is until the village is at that point. Because there's no need for them to come up with a plan. You need to come up with a plan. That's my point.
Hi, everybody. Joe DeWitt, Village of Highland Falls. I want to go back a little while ago where Trustee Phillips and Trustee Alward had said at a meeting about being civil and friendly. We are all still residents here together. You may have different opinions, but we all have an interest in what's best for the community and to save money. To address the anonymity of the flyers. It's because of what they said, and the next day, the attacks, the personal attacks come right back out. To put actual names on a flyer is just going to open up to people that are working hard to get information together, pros and cons. To go by what Mike said, it's to get people to want to investigate facts and get away from conjecture. Call it out when you see conjecture. But to protect people from getting directly attacked in the process, which has seemed to be a problem around here, and we'd like that to go away. We want to be able to talk together and talk about the different issues. Let me go to tonight. In one breath you hear, we don't know yet, LaBerge is going to say, and then the next minute you hear a statement, half the people are going to get fired, and that's it. You can't say we don't know and then make a statement like that. That's not fair. We are very fortunate, as you've heard in the past, that a lot of towns don't want to deal with this at all, and Mr. Mayor, 100% agree with about the law. Everybody questions that about the town. We are lucky here, though, that we have a town board supervisor that wants to be active. We have heads of departments that want to make sure nobody's going to get kicked to the curb with the village employees. It's people care. This isn't just a corporate restructure where people just kick to the curb and go away. People's lives are being considered as best as possible. There is a balance of finance. It's just about fiscal responsibility so Highland Falls as a community can go forward successfully, grow. You know, COVID has hit us hard, and there's another empty store on Main Street. We need to reverse. We need, when people come and buy a house, houses are selling across the country, okay? People are escaping cities, working from home. They don't want to, you know, taxes are part of the Northeast, frankly, no doubt. But you got to see smart fiscal responsibility to know when you're paying out that dollar, out of your tax dollar, that it's going to the right place. And that's all we want. And that's all we're trying to get people to do, and Mike's right. Just investigate, don't fight about it. We want to educate, be called out when we're wrong, and appreciate it when we were right, and try to go for what's best. So, thank you, that's what I want to thank you very
much. Edward Falta, Village Highland Falls citizen, and live on Main Street. So I liked Mr. Lilos' suggestion of kind of brokering or hammering out what a police protection plan would look like for a very large town and village consolidated community. You know, I don't think there's anything stopping us from doing that. I think Ned Kalpal mentioned that could be brokered now. Even before LaBerge puts in, we could put a proposal or a recommendation of what it would look like to cover the whole area with a police force.
So, Mr. Mayor, Jim Ramus. Mr. Howard, good to see you again tonight, sir. Juul Energy, so I was able to actually download it. It takes a little time, I know, because we're still working on the thing on the roof. So the Better Business Bureau says they've been in business for 12 years. They are a business that is not accredited by the Better Business Bureau. They get an F rating. That's right on the Better Business Bureau's website. And just so you know, one of the complaints was the contract with Juul stated that a 10-year guarantee, a certain kilowatt per hour would be saved. When this does not occur, they pay back 200% of the difference. Each year I attempted to collect the refund, they refused to pay for years 1 through 3. They paid for year 4 and 5. And in year 5, they paid year 6 at the correct time. Now I'm attempting to correct them for year 7. It can go on and on. It's a long letter. But I would hope that, you guys said you had 30 days. Please go on the Better Business Bureau's website, do a little bit more research, just in case you might want to change your mind. As far as the 2 administrations ago, we were talking about consolidation. And in that particular study, we were looking at 2 things. The town-wide takeover of certain departments or a super village. And unfortunately, that halted. The super village looked like it would have been a better fit for our unique area. And it's a shame that we are now on one path of dissolution or going back our own separate ways. So maybe after the vote, depending on how it goes, we could look at that option if that is an option at that point in time. One other quick thing, Mr. Mayor, this is about the code, the zoning code. In the business district, it seems that to bring more people in that are going to benefit the whole community, I would like us to look at the code and on the first floor in the business district, make it retail, restaurant, something that's gonna have foot traffic. And while I'm not saying get rid of offices, but the offices should be on the second floor. It's just a suggestion. I would hope that we can talk about it.
It's come up before, very good conversations about, insurance places, et cetera, being on the second floor, and more businesses on the first, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Gary Lutz, 34 Center Street. I want to make a couple comments. And this just pertains to my background and how I feel about the village. I served in the military here and was stationed here, met my wife here, married her, been here in the community for about 40 years. And so I take the community pride a lot. Some comments were made about being elected as officials and everything, and I do believe in that. You have a great responsibility to serve the community. But one of the biggest things that I chose to come here is because I love the village of Highland Falls and the community it is. I think if people aren't informed about this dissolution or consolidation, that it's going to deeply affect the results of it. And you're going to lose, if you're not careful in how this is handled, you're going to lose this community. It's not going to be the community it is today. One of my biggest beefs is about this whole thing is I was approached by a member, I won't say who, but I was approached to sign the petition. I signed it under the false pretense that it was going to be to consolidate the police department only. I even asked the question, what is this going to pertain? Shame on me for not reading the whole petition of what was involved in it. But shame on the official that we elected that misled me to get my signature on a petition. Now, not only was I misled, I try not to put words in my wife's mouth. She couldn't be here tonight, but I asked her, I said, when she found out I was coming down here, I asked her, did you feel that everything was represented to you when you were being solicited for your signature? And she said no, because she said I wouldn't have signed the petition if I would have known everything that was involved. And I felt the same way. So if people are not given all the information and everything, how are they going to make an informed decision? And one other thing I would say is, if you're going to try and come up with this, I don't understand all the dynamics of it and everything else, but I sure feel a lot more comfortable about voting for something if I saw the plan ahead of time. Not that I'm going to vote on an idea that we're going to disillusion or we're going to consolidate and then come up with a plan. I'd like to know what the plan is before I vote on it. Thank you.
And if the town's going to accept it.
Yeah.
Can I answer that, Mr. Lutz? Because I do remember you. You signed my petition
Yes,
for the police dissolution.
yes.
Yes, that didn't go through because the board wouldn't let it go through.
No, it didn't
I
go
was-
You're not being asked a question at least. I'm sorry, I know, the last time you pounded your hand on the thing. So Mr. Lutz, Lutz, so I did ask for,
Lutz,
I'm
not
sorry,
Lutz,
Mr. Lutz. Yes, there were two petitions. One is for police dissolution petition, and it was to vote, for a vote, to either dissolve or not dissolve the police. So the petition was not to dissolve the police, but to vote on it. That's what it was.
And I asked that at the time.
That's
And
right.
I asked about, was it just for the police department?
And it was just for the police department. That was the
That's not
first
what's
petition.
That's not what I'm
That-
understanding is coming up now.
That's the second petition. So that petition has gone away. It's no longer, so the group came out for a second petition, and it's for village dissolution, to vote for or against village dissolution. So the petition you signed was just for police dissolution, and it was just for a vote.
So my point is, if your plan to do all this is so great for the community and everything, then why do you have to mislead people to get their signature?
But it wasn't, no, I just explained, it was for a police dissolution. That is not what's being discussed now. That's a separate petition.
Did you understand what I said? My wife felt like she was missing.
I can't tell you how many people have said that to me.
Misrepresented.
It's okay.
Joe.
It is what it is. So many people. Just so, look, go into Andy's any day you want, and everyone in there will tell you.
If
Okay.
I'm just saying, if you have such a good plan and everything, that maybe you want to be a little more straight up with people instead of skewing it in a different light.
Okay, Jim?
Wasn't, it's for a vote.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
City Modeling, village resident. I agree that consolidation would have been the way to go. I think it would have been much better than dissolution. That's been tried here for decades. I believe members of this board ran on consolidation in years past. I believe one was the supervisor and the mayor at one time.
And we did consolidate during those 2 years.
I don't think so.
Well,
But
we
I-
did, wait a minute, we
had
did
one-
zoning, we did planning, we did sanitation.
Okay.
Isn't that what we're talking about, or are we talking about something different?
I'm talking about consolidation, consolidating the community, one government.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not talking about departments, you're talking
I'm
about,
talking about one
The whole
government. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Every time there's an election, this is discussed, every single time. And I won't mention any names, but I was also told during this past election that if a person was reelected, that the village police department would be dissolved if he were reelected. And there were other people there. I wasn't alone. There were people in the room, and they will attest to that also. I think this is a sad place that we're in today. I really do. I'm listening to people say things, talk to each other. I'm not on Facebook, but I understand it's a disaster. People that said hello to me in the past don't say hello to me. I'm one of the people that work on the yellow flyers that are going around. We have done every single thing we can. Everything we put on there, we say, you can go to this site, you can look, you can go for verification. We try our hardest to make sure that we're representing things the correct way. There were 2 petitions. I was one of the people collecting signatures too. One was for the police department to be dissolved. We thought, because we talked to people on this board who agreed with that before the election. We got the signatures. That was our error, though. We didn't realize that we had to have a vote first by this board to allow us to get those signatures. So that's why we couldn't dissolve the police department, or we couldn't bring it to the people to vote. On the form itself, it says right at the top, this is a yes or no, up or down vote. You know, if you don't want to, that's okay. If you do want to, that's okay too. When that didn't go through, that's when we decided that we were going to go forward and just ask to have the entire community, the entire village dissolved. I'm very upset about this. I think it's just very sad where we are right now. But I think that the people on both sides have very strong feelings, and we're trying to get actually the right facts out, the right information. We have a website too that we're putting out. We have speakers that are talking. We're trying our best to get factual information. Thank you.
Good.
Okay, couple things. Mask's got to come off for this one. So a comment about the law, but before I go there, our attorney, you have a law degree, right? Just checking. Our attorney, we did not do the petition for the police consolidation petition, whatever it was called, because...
Because the only way you can dissolve a police
Can you say in the microphone so everyone at home can hear it too?
As I said, when the petition was presented, you cannot, the only way to dissolve a village police force is for this board to do it. And then that decision is subject to permissive referendum. But you can't dissolve a police force under village law by just asking for it and signing a petition. It just doesn't work that way.
And then at that meeting, I remember that meeting, because there were some members in the audience, there might have been some people in the current audience, but somebody in that audience that night said, oh, okay, then we'll just do one about the whole village. It was said that night, okay? So let's just keep our eye on the prize, right? Because we want to do this for the money, we want to do this for the taxes. I understand that. Let's talk about being nice. I think that's very, very important. I've been trying to be a lot better. I don't use words like delusional anymore. So it's part of my program. So being nice. It's funny, because that seems to be a little bit of a one-way street with even some of the folks sitting in this room right now. Social media, no problem. Being called a crook, being called dishonest. Had to correct somebody, matter of fact, had to correct somebody in this room just over the weekend because they thought they were an expert on a topic that they knew nothing about. But that's okay. I can deal with it, broad shoulders. Consolidation of a department beforehand. I think that's a great idea. I think it would have been a fantastic idea if we could have sat down and had a discussion. But that's not the petition that was not the petition that was created. That was not the petition that got the signatures, and that's not what the petition that was filed. The petition and the signatures was on dissolution, not consolidation. So please stop using that word. I'm tired of trying to tell the differences. Fear-mongering. I agree with that. I don't like to use those words because I just think there's a lot of unknown, and so people get nervous about the unknown. But let's just take one little tiny example off the flyers, which I won't even get into the sociology and the science behind picking the colors and the way the wording is and the bold and the small. There's a whole science to that, of which I know just a little. But let's just talk about one little aspect of the flyers, because we don't want to be misleading. And I do think that there are some great websites that you can go to on some of the information. But let's just take one little example. The village has $8 million of debt. We had a fellow here, Noah, from Unistat. We do not have $8 million of debt issued. I know some of the people in this room know the difference between authorized and issued. Very smart. People in this room that are much smarter than I am. I just went to Mount St. Mary College, just to have a regular college degree. So that's where I think sometimes we get a little confused and people get concerned because sometimes the information may not just be complete. I'll say complete. So that was my comment on fear-mongering. The last one I want to talk about is the law, because that was brought up. And I just dabble in this a little bit, the law, because I'm not a lawyer. But I think the law to dissolve and consolidate was either updated or changed or created just recently. When I say recently in the legal world, within the last 10?
It used to be that before a village would be asked to vote on whether to dissolve or not, that the petition would be presented, the village would have to actually create a plan, not a sort of an interim, they would have to create a plan. And so that when the village residents went to the polls to vote, they would have a plan to vote on. So in 2010, Governor Cuomo at the time changed the law, the legislature changed the law. I think he was very much in favor of changing the law so that now it's backwards.
Right.
So now you get a petition with a certain number of signatures and you have a very short window of time to actually vote.
Right.
So you're not voting on a plan, you don't have a plan.
Right.
So many villages hire people like LaBerge and CGR and others to try and come up really quickly with an idea of what a plan might be. And they do a lot of work and they come out with, well, this is what might happen. So you have some idea. You go to the polls, you vote. If you vote yes, dissolve the village, then this village board must do a plan. I think you have 180 days. This board creates a plan, has a public hearing, the plan is disseminated, and the village board adopts the plan. It's adopted. That's it. It's done. Unless within 45 days, there's another petition which requires twice the number of signatures that the first petition required. If you get that petition, then there's another vote. So that's the point. If you get that petition, which requires twice as many signatures, that the village can then say, okay, we've seen the plan, yes or no. So if you don't get that permissive petition, then it's done.
I just wanted to bring up that it was stated that it's been talked about, and I think it has been talked about. It definitely has been talked about. I think some departments have been consolidated. I think some departments that have been consolidated do not work efficiently. I know even some members of the board who've had to experience it and live through some of those departments would probably, I would hope that they would be honest and say that they didn't have that great of an experience with some of their consolidated departments. So those are my comments, and I understand that, you know, we all want to be nice. I'm trying so very hard to be nice. I hate going on these 5-minute, for lack of a better term, rants, but I mean, comments on Facebook, you wouldn't believe it. You know me, I worked for your mother, you've known me my whole life, and the comments that are being said are ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So, I don't participate. I just try to correct the misinformation. So, and I get it, everyone wants to get their couple minutes of fame, so I apologize. I mean, even tonight, I know photos, like, I'm sure they'll be used maybe in the future, whatever, like, it's fine, I don't care. Nothing anyone can do is gonna bother me, or I would think some of the members of the board. But I wish everyone would be nice. I wish that the information that goes out is as accurate as it can possibly be, because this is a very big vote, and when the LaBerge group is done, I think we'll have all the information. So with that, if there's nothing else, I'll get.
I'm going to take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
September 20 IDA report.
All in favor?
About Mr.
Aye.
Salvo. Please
All in
read it.
favor?
Do you want to talk about
No,
it?
no, no.
Yes,
Thank
no,
you.
no.